Well, hello and welcome and happy 2023. Although it may be February before you actually are listening to this, but that's neither here nor there because you are listening to the Top 5 Podcast. I am your host, Kris McPeak, and with me as always is Garth. With me as always is Annie. Party on, Annie.
Party on, Kris.
Oh, yeah. We could not be anywhere close to being as cool as Wayne Campbell.
Oh,
I'm your excellent host, Wayne Campbell.
I wish I was as cool as Garth.
Yeah. Do we even know Garth's last name?
I don't know. I'd have to GTS. Google that shit.
GTS. I love that. Is that like a real phrase?
That's my phrase. I don't know.
GTS. Hashtag GTS.
In front of my students.
I love it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you are hashtag GTS, the Top 5 Podcast, you will learn that today we are, what are we talking about, Annie?
We're talking about vampire movies. I love it. Yeah.
Oh my God. So we have waited quite a while to do this episode because we kind of went down the musical rabbit hole for a spell. And then we kind of got into the horror thing a little bit with scariest movies ever. And we did an indie horror episode not all that long ago, actually. There's a few more where, you know, the Pruitt children
Kiddos. Yes.
will be brought into the mix. But for today, it's just me and Annie talking about vampires. And I don't know about you, but I have fairly contemporary films on my list. I do not have anything older than 1987.
All right. Well, I will not say anything to that.
All right, then let's see. Age before beauty. So I will go first. Okay. My number 5 is the 1994 creation that people fawned crazy over forever. Like, how can Tom Cruise be Lestat? It's just not going to happen. But yeah, so that's Interview with the Vampire with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and the breakout debut performance of Kirsten Dunst. And if memory serves, this was a Neil Jordan film. So we were coming off of Neil Jordan's big success with The Crying Game. Yeah. And now taking on a very beloved New York bestseller novel.
Very.
That cast Tom Cruise, and people kind of freaked out about that. Yeah. I did not read the book, so I purely just went for the entertainment value of, you know, a vampire movie. And it's number 5 on my list because I think it's very entertaining. I think that it still sticks with me that I'm expecting to watch that movie and that River Phoenix is still going to be in it because he was to play the interviewer, which wound up going to Christian Slater, which is still okay. But
later, yes.
I got to go past the whole Lestat Tom Cruise thing because I think it's actually Brad Pitt that is pulling out the stops in this movie. And he is the one where my emotions go, my feelings and all that kind of stuff. So I can go, you know, it's like, I don't know if you've heard me make this argument before. I have a huge problem with the movie, The Talented Mr. Ripley, because I do not see Matt Damon as Mr. Ripley. As Tom Ripley, I see Matt Damon as Matt Damon in that movie. Now, it's not like that when I watch Saving Private Ryan or watch Good Will Hunting, but for some reason. So Interview with a Vampire, it's number 5 on my list, but I don't see a Lestat. I see Tom Cruise. And maybe that would be different for me if I'd read the book, which I did not. But as far as vampire movies go, it is entertaining. And Kirsten Dunst is actually a bit of a miracle in that movie. Yeah. And, you know, Antonio Banderas is in there a little bit too. And I think Stephen Ray is in it, a small role. So yeah, I mean, you know, good Neil Jordan, entertaining, fun to watch. So yeah, that's my number 5.
Yeah. I mean, Lestat should have been like the one thing that you focused on, but because everybody was so upset with Tom Cruise filling that role, Brad Pitt is what you focused on, which he was fantastic. Just a vampire. And it's funny that when I went to New Orleans, the person I was with, like their hands down, the number one thing I have to do is drive past Anne Rice's house.
Oh.
So I felt like they were closer to the vampire or some, weird shit.
Yeah.
But I remember the outcry of like, oh my God, you can't cast Tom Cruise as Lestat, but he did okay. I mean, he wasn't like, I can think of other people that could have done like the same job, but really, I'm with you. Brad Pitt was the focus. He was fantastic. He was so beautiful.
Yes, he was. And he's not yet been typecast as anything. I think that's the other thing that made this hard. Granted, we had Born on the 4th of July, so we knew Tom Cruise could act, but we did not have Jerry Maguire. We did not have Magnolia yet. No. So we're still kind of dealing with the action star that most people know as Maverick or Ethan Hunt. And so to put him in like a true period piece was kind of a big deal. And
put him to something like the character is bisexual. So the idea that Tom Cruise was going to play this role that was, not the typical Tom Cruise, very, very hetero testosterone type of role. I think that's why everybody was so against it, but he still, he pulled off. I mean, he was very sexy to men. And so, I mean, he did. And Anne Rice even came out after the fact and said, I fully support Tom Cruise is my Lestat.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. That was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Huge deal. So.
Okay. All right. So my number 5, totally different direction, but we might have the same conversation. Blade from 1998. So DC, but so Wesley Snipes as the Daywalker, the vampire that also is, basically half human, half vampire, but is on the quest to kill all the vampires. And you have Kris Kristofferson on as his like tech guy.
Right.
So what's so cool about, I don't know why I loved in the intro that Tracy Lords was this vampire, this like huntress vampire at the beginning of the movie. I don't know why I loved her appearance. That the fact that she was actually pretty awesome just in the first 5 minutes of the movie. But Wesley Snipes is so like spot on with the character of Blade. If you're true to the comics, he's spot on, but he also gets the right motions and the landing and everything he does with a sword, and his motions are like very true to the comic and to anime, like lovers of animation or anime. And that's what makes the movie. And I'll say, like, I'm not going to put any of the other Blade movies. I'd almost want to say like the Blade Trinity, because all 3 of them are actually really good.
Okay.
So, but my number 5, Blade from 98, Wesley Snipes, I really think he pulls it off. I loved it. I thought it was great.
I saw Blade one time and I did not see any of the sequels. And I remember Kris Kristofferson, but I seem to also remember Stephen Dorff in that movie, or did I make that up? Okay.
He was the one of the he was one of the bad vampires. Yeah.
A bad vampire. Oh, so we have good vampires and we have bad vampires.
But I love so yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. My number 4 could also have been on my indie horror list, but I knew it needed to be on this list instead. This is the 1995 movie. I can't remember the director now. I think it's Abel Ferreira, called The Addiction with, what the hell is her name? Now I'm going to forget. Oh my God. From Mystic Pizza and Lily something.
I can see her face.
Oh my God. What the hell is her name?
I gotta look her up. Just tell me about why you like it and I'll tell you.
Oh, okay. So she's this grad student that I only saw it once, and she's this grad student in New York, and she's, kind of out studying and learning things. And what?
Lily Taylor,
God, because I knew Tomlin was not right. It was not Lily Tomlin. She's this grad student and out in New York and doing her thing, and just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and gets bit by some older, sexier vampire, and now, it's coming and it's in black and white. So it's a very different look for a film. But I liked this because it was vampire movies can be so romanticized, or they become, this like Blade is sort of like an action hero movie kind of.
Yeah.
And this movie is not that. This movie is like seedy and dark and kind of dirty and ugly and messy, and there you can't romanticize the experience that this woman is having in her, formative, not adolescent years, but adult years, learning to deal with her vampirism as an addiction. I have an addiction, and that's it. So anyway,
that movie. Yeah, I love
Lily Taylor is like the queen of the indies, I think. Like, she can ride that indie wave for many years. And I love almost everything I've seen her do.
I can't say like there's anything she's done that I've not liked. So yeah. All right. My number 4, and I can't believe it's this low on my list, but that's how much I like vampire movies, but it's the 1992 Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I can't believe that's this low on your list because it features,
Yes, Gary Oldman, who is my all-time favorite actor, like literally all-time favorite. I could do like an entire episode just about how much I love Gary Oldman.
We should do that.
It's not number 1. And I love me some Keanu Reeves. He's one of my favorites, but he did not belong in this movie.
Yeah.
And I love Anthony Hopkins, but he did not have a great, and Carrie Elway. So like a lot of the supporting cast, like, didn't necessarily belong. If it had been just like Gary and Winona, it'd have been fine. But some of the supporting cast just didn't pull it together.
Yeah.
But the reasons I love it is because it was so true to the novel. So true to Bram Stoker's vision. Gary Oldman is so convincing in everything he does. He can do, like, literally the man can do anything.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
There's like a YouTube video about like 1,000 actors that say how much they love Gary Oldman. So I'm not alone in that. So I've seen this like 20 times at least. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it should be higher, but I have to like kind of, this was so hard. So my number 4, 92, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
This list was hard for me, mostly because I'm not, okay, so.
I love vampires.
Okay, so let me just stop you and ask you here. Even though it's not a movie, is True Blood on your list?
Oh, it could be easily.
Okay.
I love True Blood, but it's not.
I feel like every vampire thing that I see, I wind up putting in some kind of comparison to True Blood. And I think that's only because I thought that series.
Don't mention Twilight. We're good. Yes.
Yeah. Wait, what? What?
Yeah.
Just the idea that vampires are real and walk amongst us and have their own culture and government, and you've got the king of Mississippi and the queen of Louisiana and all. And I read probably, I read 6 or 7 of Charlaine Harris's books and got into that. And then he, got mad at the series because I thought they took some liberties that, upset me, because they did completely change the framework of what Charlaine Harris had started, but it worked for television viewing. And it was an exceptional series that I still have not seen the final season, and I need to do that.
Oh, I didn't love this.
But I know HBO seems to have a problem with closure and final seasons, but we can, top 5 worst series finale shows from HBO ever.
Yeah. So I only have one comment, and that's the best thing about True Blood is discovering Alexander Skarsgård.
Amen to that.
I fucking love him.
Yeah, I do too.
Something else.
Yeah. And he has really he has ridden that wave of exposure to doing some really incredible work that it has nothing to do with vampires at all.
Yes.
And I don't know that I've seen Stephen, what's his face, and Anna Paquin. They have not gotten the same exposure and I don't know.
They didn't spread themselves out like
They have
did.
not capitalized off of that. Yeah, what that show did for them. Yeah, and oh gosh, there's somebody. Oh my God, Ryan Quanten, who plays the brother in True Blood. I mean,
I love him.
awesome. Jason Stackhouse, yeah. And then, oh my God, the bar owner. I can't remember anybody's names today, but Sam the shapeshifter that we find out, later on, he's like totally in love with Sookie. But that's beside the point. So bottom line, yes, I will often, it was hard for me to do this list because most vampire movies I see one time because I compare everything to True Blood and it's not the same, like coming to like the way I would want to go see something like Paranormal Activity or The Exorcist or one of those psychological horror films where like I could feasibly really believe that would happen. And I think that's what I loved about True Blood is that it gave vampires a context and a culture that could be a real culture, right? I mean, and then you've got the werewolves and you've got the shapeshifters and you've got all these other, the fairies, like Sookie Stackhouse is part fairy. And who knew that vampires found fairies so irresistible and this, that, and the other thing. Like, that's just, crazy. Yeah. Okay. Is it my turn now?
It is.
For real? My number 3 is a tie because it's the same story in 2 different films. So I'm going with Let the Right One In from 2008 that was then remade as Let Me in 2010. So I think the original movie was maybe Swedish and then they remade it with Chloe. Oh God.
Oh, I know who you're talking.
Cute girl from the Kick-Ass movie and Cody Smith McPhee, who just got nominated for an Oscar last year for Power of the Dog. So here's a young preteen Moretz, yes.
Yeah.
Who is she has turned into quite the actress and is quite beautiful. I mean, when I see her, it pop up in things. It's like, this is the new Dakota Fanning.
Really? Yeah.
And I think that she will have a better career than Dakota Fanning is having, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, there's a boy in school. He's kind of picked on. He's kind of the odd man out. He's kind of got an unsatisfactory home life. And then family, air quotes, moves in next door. And it's this young girl who's a vampire and her caretaker. And they develop this friendship that is also, quite endearing. And, she kind of saves him from his, bullying at school, etc. She doesn't go to school, but she gives him confidence. She gives him something to lean on. And they, they have this really lovely little relationship. And so it's it's a very interesting vampire film because we're talking about children and, children dealing with becoming the night walkers, whatever you want to call it. And there's just a really, really neat friendship and like a protector vibe that you get from these 2 films. Let the Right One In is definitely the better of the 2 films, but I thought they did a really good job with Let Me In. And yeah, a very entertaining storyline that actually, cuts to the core a little bit more because you're dealing with children. And you're dealing with bullies and dealing with bullies in school and having someone, that you can trust and lean on who will protect you.
I need to see both of those because I love Chloe because I love the Kick-Ass movies. And so either of those yet. So my list.
Yeah. So yeah, highly entertaining, both of them. Check it out.
So number 3. I should have done a tie. I should have done a tie with my number 4. So my number 3 is actually the Dracula movie from 1931. So which is also the Bram Stoker's Dracula story.
Yeah.
But it's just like this time you've got Bela Lugosi. And had you not had, well, let's be honest, had you not had Nosferatu in 22, then you would not have had Dracula in 31. And Bela Lugosi, had he not pulled off Bram Stoker's Dracula so well, we would not have the vampire movies that we have today. Because
oh God, no.
Lugosi pulled that off.
Oh
But
yeah.
he watched that movie. It's like it's totally true to the novel. And what's funny is like the characters, like the way they differ between the not the 92 to the 31 version
Mm.
are, again, I never would have cast Keanu Reeves in that role like after you watch the 31 version.
Yeah.
So, but Bela Lugosi is absolutely, I'm sorry, he's supposed to be, and he was hypnotizing. He was beautiful. He was such a beautiful freaking vampire.
Yeah.
So we watched like again, my kids are like teenagers, but I'm raising my teenagers right, and they watch black and white movies with us. And Emily freaking loved it. Like that's her
Yeah.
number Dracula, like number one vampire movie. But I love it, and it should be like this was such a hard list. This is so hard. It's so hard. But it's my number 3, Dracula from 1931, because God bless forever Bela Lugosi.
Yeah. Yeah. If you didn't have that movie, then you wouldn't have had the craziness in Ed Wood.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Totally. And I think I've seen that movie twice that I recall. I think I saw it first, like when it was on the Son of Svengoolie horror movie thing on Channel 32 when we were little kids. But I think I also watched it I took this class when I was at Webster University that I thought was going to be so amazing. Portraits of Evil in Cinema. And
wow.
everything that was on the list, like I was so excited to take this class. And it wound up being terrible because the professor let entirely too many people get involved in the conversation on family values and homoeroticism. Linda Blair got possessed by a demon because she was raised by a single mother with no father. And I was like, oh my God, I want to fucking kill everybody in this classroom. But anyway, so yeah, watched it those 2 times. So with a different mindset that I have now, it would be very interesting to watch that movie, 20 years after the last time I saw it.
Yeah.
With a more, adult framework and knowing what I know about your opinion of the Bram Stoker story, which I think that book is one of the ones that if you have a Kindle, it shows up as like a free book that you can download, and maybe I just need to read it because,
Yeah. So the funny thing is Emily's favorite character actually from like her favorite performance is actually the guy that played Renfield, because he is so nutty. He plays like really, really nutty well. Quite Fry. And he was actually born in, this is so, I don't know, it's serendipity, in Solani, Kansas, which is like 2 hours from where we live.
Oh, so, shut up.
Away from where this dude, like her favorite character, she didn't love Bela Lugosi as much as she loved the guy who played Renfield.
But Redfield, that's awesome.
Maddening laugh was infectious. So it's so good. If you like horror movies, you kind of have to pay homage to like those that paved the way. Because had we not had Nosferatu, we would not have had Bram Stoker's Dracula. Then we wouldn't.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Well, I lied. It's actually Frankenstein that's on my Kindle, not Bram Stoker's Dracula, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, that. Yep.
Because I have an Audible membership and I have 3 credits that I can use. Okay. My number 2. And now, okay. So my next 2 movies are all kitsch for the most part. Okay. And I think the reason that this movie is on my list is because I'm a huge fan of Quentin Tarantino, and also because I had an RA during those years at Webster who had a website dedicated to this movie. And so I'm talking about 1996 From Dusk Till Dawn with George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, and directed by Robert Rodriguez. Now, I think we were still like, George Clooney to me was still Dr. Doug Ross, and I had not yet decided that I liked him as an actor, but you can't not like this movie from the entertainment value of what's happening. You've got these 2 brothers. George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino were brothers. Like, who the fuck came up with that? That's crazy time. I would never have, your brothers? No. Oh my gosh, you look just alike. I thought the mannerisms between the two of them, it's so bizarre. But break out of prison, or one breaks the other one out of prison, whatever.
Yeah.
And so they're on the run and they kidnap this family and they wander into this bar. That's a total vampire bar. And now they have to save the world from the crazy vampires, of which Salma Hayek is like one of the, main vampires with the snake and the high heels and then all the, and it's just, it is kitsch,
Yes.
kitsch, all kitsch.
And Juliette Lewis.
Yes. And major hilarity, of course. And Robert Rodriguez is he's such a Renaissance filmmaker because, and I think Quentin co-wrote this screenplay with him, maybe, or he was involved in the storytelling part of it. But what I love about Robert Rodriguez is that he's the director, but he's also the cinematographer. Sometimes he's the editor. He's often the composer. He doesn't cameo in his films like Quentin will do, but yeah. And he is not Hollywood at all. He does everything in fucking Austin, Texas, which, I mean, God love you. And he's had such great commercial success with a lot of different things and has developed, I guess, created some of, some really iconic movie characters that come out of the 90s, the Gecko brothers, being one of them. But I'm also thinking, of course, of the El Mariachi and Desperado, Antonio Banderas.
That, yes.
But he did the Spy Kids movies. And though, he made those purely for his kids because he wanted to do something for his children. But I mean, those movies are highly entertaining and super fun. And you still have, you get to look at Antonio Banderas for 90 minutes at a time. Like, I could think of a lot worse things to do for 90 minutes than look at Antonio Banderas and some cute kids.
Or with From Dusk Till Dawn, look at Salma Hayek, because
totally
her like early glory. So
yeah.
It's funny because I was just talking about this movie to my hubby because he's never seen it and he loves Salma Hayek. I'm like, well, you've never seen From Dusk Till Dawn. If you like her, then you'll really love her.
Yeah.
Because she's a hot motherfucker.
Oh yeah.
So
with a snake and stiletto heels, and we drink blood out of our shoes.
Yeah.
And
we can forget about George Clooney's haircut. We can forgive that because it was,
and the neck tattoo, like
but it was fun. It was absolutely fun. I saw it so many times because it came out when I was working in the movie theater. So maybe that's not why.
Oh yeah.
I didn't make my list. My number 2 is a little more indie, but it's the What We Do in the Shadows from 2014.
Uh-huh.
Off the top of my head, outside of Taika Waititi, I can't even pronounce his name. I can't tell you the actors in the movie, but it's so fun. It's so glitchy. It's so off. Like the humor is so offbeat. That's the only way I can describe it. If you have never heard of it, then please, dear God, there's also, I want to say either Hulu, HBO, series.
FX. It's FX on Hulu. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. But the original movie is so fun and it's so ridiculous, but it also kind of goes to the heart of like how long like true vampires have been on this planet. Like if they haven't been killed, they've been on the planet for a very long time, and kind of the not that the inhumanity or the unhumanity of their life span. And how that could be very depressing. I don't know. It's it's interesting, but it's ridiculously funny, and I just love it. What We Do in the Shadows from 2014. I love it. And
is Johnny Depp in that?
No, he's not. He's actually in the Desperado sequel. What's the name of it? I can't remember.
Wait, Johnny Depp is not in a What We Do in the Shadows movie or anything like that.
No.
But he was in some vampire story.
He was in the sequel. No. Oh, Vampire Story.
I totally thought it was What We Do in the Shadows, What We See in the Shadows, or whatever.
No, I don't know about that one.
I'm gonna have to hashtag GTS.
Yeah, no, he was in the sequel to Desperado.
I remember that. Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. That's what
Yeah,
it's called.
but vampire, I don't know Johnny Depp. I have to let me look it up. Let me look it up while you tell me about your honorable mention.
Oh, okay. My honorable mention, I just lost my train of thought because I went to Google Johnny Depp as well. Where am I? Okay, so my honorable mention is the 2000 Shadow of the Vampire, which is the telling of the story of the making of Nosferatu, and Willem Dafoe nominated for Best Supporting Actor for playing actor who played Nosferatu, and John Malkovich is the director of that film. Only saw it once in the theater, but remember thinking like it was dark and quirky and different and weird, but it was a really, Willem Dafoe's done some pretty interesting things. And, to go from having played, Sergeant, I can't remember, Elias in Platoon to some, having played Vincent Van Gogh and he's just done some pretty different and kooky things. And this movie was interesting to look at and yeah, I mean, what you were getting at with this vampire culture, and there still is something sad about all vampires in that, your life is upended when you are, you turn.
Yeah.
You are a walking dead person, or the undead, I guess. And you never grow old, you never die, except that you're already dead. But, whatever direction your life was going when this happens to you, and that's infinitely always part of the plot of any vampire story. But this movie just, I don't know, it was really different. That actor really thought he was Nosferatu. Nosferatu. And Willem Dafoe did a wonderful job portraying it. So that's my
right
HM.
Need to see that. So I think you're thinking of Johnny Depp, Dark Shadows 2012, where he plays Barnabas Collins.
Yes, Dark Shadows. Okay, thank you. That was going to make me a little crazy.
So I was going to make my honorable mention, the Nosferatu 1922, yes. But it's kind of like that gave birth to everything we're talking about. So kind of like it's both of our, like, this is our starting block for both of us. Like none of these like movies would exist had it not been
true.
Nosferatu. So my honorable mention is actually, it's also kind of a dark comedy. And no, it is a dark comedy. It is 1988, sorry, Vampire's Kiss with Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage thinks he's been bitten by what he thinks is a vampire as Jennifer Beals, and kind of like transforms himself into a vampire, thinking that he's become one. He literally eats a live cockroach on screen. And to this day, he will tell you that is one of his biggest regrets of all time.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
It is like, it's a tragic, dark comedy, but it is like true to, like, if somebody was to get, like, in 1988, if somebody had been bit by an actual vampire, this is what they would have actually experienced, because Nicolas Cage was like this Wall Street, like, slick guy. And then he goes freaking nuts because he thinks he's become a vampire.
That's hilarious.
He goes out, buys plastic teeth, and then kills a woman with plastic teeth in his mouth. But that's what makes it a dark comedy. It's a vampire movie because you don't know if it's an actual vampire movie, because you don't know if he actually became a vampire or not.
That's hilarious.
Like going fucking nuts.
Well, I suppose if you thought you had become a vampire and kind of, well, yeah, do I have COVID or do I not have COVID? So it's that whole like, do I or don't I? I would think you would know, like, for real, no.
Who knows? Yeah. But thank you, Nicolas Cage, because that was my first movie I saw you in, and I have loved you ever since.
Was that before or after he was in Valley Girl?
Oh, good question. I'm not sure. I haven't seen Valley Girl, so that's bad.
Oh God, long time ago. Long time. Okay. Well, now I'm kind of wondering if our number one movie is the same.
It may very well be.
So let's see. We'll play 20 questions to see if they're the same. My number one is from 1987, and it is The Lost Boys.
It is The Lost Boys.
It is The Lost Boys.
Yes.
And I have to giggle at the fact that I did meet Jason Patrick
fucking
at a karaoke bar one time, long time ago. You know, I love your work, except for Speed 2, but let's go back and talk about The Lost Boys, because I was out of high school, but still connected to high school. And I think I even watched this movie for the first time at the Scott Theater in Waldron, Arkansas.
Maybe you may.
This movie is funny and silly and stupid and scary. And there's a love story, and there's vampire culture, and there's a really kick-ass soundtrack. Oh my God. And you've got both Coreys in their heyday of cuteness. And it is also one of the most quotable movies that has come out of the 80s. And I just, if The Lost Boys pops up on TV, it's one of those, you know, Doug and I were talking about, the remote gets thrown. We're going to, you know, finish watching this movie and close out the day with it. It's just so fun and still a little scary. Kiefer Sutherland is a petrifying vampire.
He's beautiful.
Yeah, but that's scary shit. Like the noodles are worms and the rice is maggots, and like that shit's creepy.
Michael,
what?
They're only noodles, Michael.
They're only noodles, Michael. My own brother, goddamn shit something vampire. You wait till mom finds out.
All right. So The Lost Boys is also my number one. So Diane Wiest as the mom, I did not appreciate her character as much as I like after I became like a divorcee.
Oh.
Raise children of my own and moving to a new area, but she is the sweetest woman. She's the sweetest character ever. And I think like after I've loved that movie for I don't know how many years, but like I went back and watched it again with the kids like 2 years ago and again last year, because now Emily loves that movie. But God bless her, because she is just doing the damnedest that she can to take care of her boys.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? At the end of the day, the hero of the movie is Nanook, the dog.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The hero. Sorry, and I love Jamie Gertz. She is so fucking sexy. I hate her because how sexy she is.
Yeah.
And I wish she had continued like doing like great roles. Like she kind of quit acting after that. After Less Than Zero, I didn't see her again. But let me tell you what's my
don't forget she was Bill Paxton's new girlfriend in Twister. Like, let's not forget Twister.
Like, where have you been the last 15 years? But so let me tell you why The Lost Boys is one of my favorite vampire movies. So the scene when Jason Patrick becomes the vampire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take him down in the cave, and they do the whole maggots, Michael, you're eating maggots, how do they taste? And then they're only new to Michael, but then they take him out and they make him hang from the thing, and he drinks blood. He doesn't know he's drinking vampire blood, but the transition that he goes through, he's still trying to protect his brother, even though he knows he's becoming a monster. He's still trying to protect his family and his brother. I love that, like that theme, and I didn't pick up on that until like later in life. I was too like engrossed in the fact that I like Corey Haim was my big crush, and I just wanted to see him like hanging out in the bathtub. The grandfather, who like Bernard something, I can't remember who plays the grandfather, who's cute as can be, adorable,
and a little bit eccentric, maybe.
Like if he had like been open, that's the other thing. Like open communication is a beautiful thing, because if he had told them like, yeah, this area is kind of fucking nuts, yeah. Kind of crazy shit going on. But yeah, no, I will always love it. Kiefer Sutherland is the most beautiful vampire that has ever walked the planet. I don't care who you are. He's just, yeah.
And Jason Patrick was not hard to look at either, for that matter.
Lovely. He was fucking lovely. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Yep.
Good stuff. The Lost Boys. Joel
Yeah.
Schumacher movie, right?
Oh, I don't know.
I have to look it up. I think it was because I think that Flatliners came came not too long after The Lost Boys, and obviously way before the scandalous Batman things. Well, anyway, let's recap, shall we?
I would love to.
Okay, so my honorable mention was Shadow of the Vampire. And then number 5, Interview with the Vampire. Number 4, The Addiction. Number 3, the combo of Let the Right One In and Let Me In. Then number 2 is From Dusk Till Dawn. And my number 1 favorite vampire movie from 1987, The Lost Boys.
Okay, so I just lost. Okay, so here we go. My honorable mention, Vampire's Kiss, 1988. All right, 5, Blade, 98. 4, Bram Stoker's Dracula from 92. 3, Dracula from 1931. Sorry, my computer got messed up. Number 2, What We Do in the Shadows from 2014. And then my number 1 with you, The Lost Boys, 1987, because Kiefer Sutherland is too beautiful.
And this soundtrack is kick-ass.
It is. It truly is.
I am looking at the, Good Times with NXS and Jimmy Barnes, The Lost in the Shadows by Lou Gramm. And that was coming off of Lou Gramm's Midnight Blue, which is one of my favorite songs in the world right now. I'm a little frustrated because Apple Music does not let you listen to the Echo and the Bunnymen version of People Are Strange. But if memory serves, the end of the movie plays the Doors version anyway, right?
Yeah, it does. Yes.
All righty. So anyway, yeah. Well, vampires are fun.
I love vampires.
Love vampires. Yeah. I dug into this big time. Like I started watching vampire movies I was aware of but hadn't seen. Although my friend Corey over in Atlanta has, thrown a million different movies my way that are vampire movies. He got me to watch most of Daybreakers with Ethan Hawke. And if I ever finish it, then it might make it on this list. I can never finish it because I fall asleep.
Ooh,
and then, I really wanted to like The Hunger, but that just wasn't working for me. And all the rest and so forth. And John Carpenter's Vampires, forget about it. Like that movie is
fine. That was like horrifying and bad. That's like on my the 5 worst movies of all time.
Yeah, easily. But there are lots of vampire movies out there. This was still a tough list for me, but a fun one nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, I had 5 others that were contenders, but I'm happy with my picks. Yeah.
Well, I will need to go back and watch Daybreakers because I promised Corey 10 years ago that I would. So anyway, well, cool. Yeah. So that's our vampire episode for you this week. For Annie Pruitt, I'm Kris McPeak, and we will catch you on the flip side.
All right.
Mary, you're on my mind.